Pilates can feel like a lot of work sometimes. Also, it can feel really satisfying to do. That's the place we want to go to, right? Um, so the way Pilates works for us to be a really satisfying place to work from. Let's start seated here up on our towel. And then come into a cross-legged position with your knees supported with your blocks. That'll give us a good starting spot here. And the cross-legged position isn't stacking the ankles. It's just one leg in front of the other. And we want to kind of make a perch here where we've got sort of a floating platform. The way Pilates is really helpful for us is when we can use it as a tool to feel like the upper and lower part of the body are more integrated, that we're not just kind of hung loosely on all these joints and then tweaking them as we're moving around, but that everything is an integrated whole. And Pilates really helps us build muscular connection and body awareness to that goal. So that's a really, really helpful thing in life that we can take. It's not just a series of exercises we're doing on the class, on the mat that are really hard for an hour. And then we go in and we're like, whoa, I did my homework. I took my vitamins, I ate my vegetables, and now I can do the rest of life. Ideally, that integration is something we find on the mat and then we take with us off the mat. That is true of yoga too, but Pilates is particularly good at weaving the upper and lower body together. So with that in mind, let's just bring ourselves into some postural awareness here. Plant the hands where it's comfortable to on the top of the thighs here. I'm going to let the elbows fall in along the sides of the ribs. Drop the tailbone down. Glide the shoulders down the back. And the first thing we're going to do is just move the ribs and the chest. So you're going to inhale, glide the ribs up and open wide through the collarbone, and then exhale. And we're going to use the hands here to give us a little traction round the ribs into the body. Let the collarbone glide forward, chin to chest, and you'll feel a big stretch and pull here. I'm going to do 2 more of these. Inhale to arch. This is like cat-cow in yoga, but we're doing a seated version of this spinal articulation. And exhale to curl. And we are making it big, so don't hesitate to exaggerate these sensations here as you're moving. Good. On your next inhale, see if you can pull yourself, kind of unfurl, like maybe think about a fiddlehead fern unrolling in the spring. Unfurl your spine. So instead of going into an arch, keep the ribs stacked on top of the hips and then just lengthen yourself up through the crown of the head. And then we're going to pay attention to the occiput. Mine's buried underneath a bunch of hair, but I'll still be able to find it. And C7, that last cervical vertebra. Cervical spine is the neck, right? So it's the last vertebra of the neck, and it has that little bump that sticks out. So nod your chin forward. Feel that little bony protrusion where C7 is, and then use your fingers to find the occipital ridge, right? That little ledge at the very base of the skull. Put both thumbs there, or put a thumb there rather, and then your other fingers find C7, all right? If you're not sure which vertebra it is, pick a bump that's close to your collarbone, and we're going to feel the movement into it, or maybe put one finger on each of the bumps that you feel there, so that you get a sense into what's happening with your spine. As you exhale, draw the chin in towards the chest. Press that occipital ridge back and lift it up. So you're helping to angle that chin down and bring your head back to the place where it lands, right on top of the shoulders and collarbone. And you should feel that bony protrusion recede into the spine. and the head nice and elevated up and away from the collarbone. And that's where we want to be. And then from there, we'll just gently turn the head side to side. Try to keep the ribs gliding together, right? Knitting together and down so that the hip bones and the ribs are connected. The tips of the ribs are not in front, are not flying away. And then just turn side to side. And as you turn side to side here, you may notice these waist muscles, your obliques, working a little bit. And it can be helpful to push with the heels of the hands into the knees so that you feel a little traction as you go side to side. Good. Come back to center. So just easy mobility here and kind of tuning into these landmarks. We're now going to switch the legs. So you have the opposite leg crossed in front. Really important piece to what we're doing here, so that you get balance in the hips. And then we're going to inhale, take the arms out wide to the side. And exhale, twist over to the right. Left hand to the knee, right hand back behind you. Get a little extra leverage. Use your eyes to finish the twist. Inhale, release it through center, and then use the momentum to come over. Exhale to the left. Right hand to the knee, left hand back behind you. We'll just do one more time each side. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Good. Inhale through center and exhale. Release your hands down onto the knees. And then you're just going to bow forward. Now, I'm going to take the blocks out because I know my knees are okay with this range of motion. But if for you, you're more comfortable with the blocks underneath the knees, then go ahead and keep them there, right? And you could also take them out and put the blocks in front of you if that's feasible. But if you're okay to take your hands in front of you, they can be a big help. And then you're just going to walk the hands out as you bow forward to the degree that you're comfortable with. And hang your head. Take one full deep breath down here. And then we're going to take an inhale right here without moving. This is our discipline here. Exhale, pull the belly button against the spine. See if you can get your pelvic floor involved. Then engage the sides of the waist as you walk the hands back, stacking your spine, vertebra by vertebra, letting the tailbone be heavy, bringing the ribs up on top of the hips, but knitting them together and angling them down towards the hips, but lifting the collarbone up and away. So there's a tension point at which you can be actively lifting the collarbone away, but muscularly holding the ribs down without them flying up, down and together. And then find the place where your occipital ridge is lifted as far away as it can be without squeezing off your air supply with the Adam's apple and the chin. And drawing C7 in to the spine without touching it. We already felt into that. Good. There's your vertical alignment. There's your sort of column of strength in that core support. Now we're going to switch the legs and do that same movement on the other side because we did forward flexion in the hips. We need to have the other leg in front to do it. So again, blocks underneath the knees if you want. If not, you can put them in front of you, or you can take your hands down to the ground. Inhale and exhale. Curl the head, walk the hands forward, and come down. As far as you're going to go here, just close the eyes and let your attention go inward. In yoga, this is a forward fold, which is introspective. And take a nice full deep breath down here at the base of your stretch. Trying to let the tailbone still be heavy. Good. And then take one more full deep breath here. On your exhale, start engaging your lower abdominals, which includes the pelvic floor, belly button to the back of the spine. Then it scoops up and under the ribs along the waist. And that's when you start to walk the hands back. Stack the spine here. Feel that tension point of the ribs knitting together and the bottom points of the ribs angled down at the same time that you're lifting your collarbone up and away, gliding the shoulder blades down the ribs and back, finding the chin angled down so that the occiput can lift up, and integrating C7. So there's a lot of moving parts in our body, right? Many, many, many. From here, we're going to stretch your legs out, right? And this is going to be a nice release point for us. Just turn and face your right leg. And with your legs stretched out, now we can really use the blocks to their best advantage. Make sure you're sitting up on a towel, in the comfortable position. Inhale with the blocks under the hands, framing your right leg. Go tall, and then exhale, walk the hands forward as you lengthen yourself out over your leg. Now, you will come to a point at which you're not going to come forward anymore. And if you remember from our warm-up class, I mentioned the body has a contraction mechanism when we come into a stretch that keeps us from going too far and pulling ourselves apart or injuring our joints. So we want to work with that. The muscles are going to contract against a stretch as we come into it. So you want to go slow so the contraction isn't violent or too hard, right? Because the faster and deeper we go, the more the body's going to have a more spasmodic response. So little contraction, feel into it, take an inhale. Use the breath to expand, and then as you exhale, release and go a little bit deeper. And we'll do that 3 times. Inhale, if you can stretch a little bit more, lengthen against the stretch. And then as you exhale, see if you can release a little bit more of that contraction and soften in. And you can use your block underneath the head, if that's helpful for you. At any level where it can support, you can build it up, stacking the blocks, or you can just stay up above it with the blocks under the hands. Good. Lock your hands in. Inhale, come up. Find your blocks in the center. And we're just going to take a little temperature test here. This is the rule of thumb. When you've got 2 legs stretched out, it's always a bit more challenging. So we're doing the challenging version of things. And stretching in the middle is particularly hard when you've only stretched 1 leg. But we're just going to do a little pass through here. Lean forward on your blocks. Flex the feet. And give yourself a nice breath here and see how it feels to move into this space where the restrictions are. Is it in your shoulders? You feel it in your hips and low back? Do you feel it in your hamstrings? All of the above. Just breathe into it. 1 full deep breath here. Good. Okay. That's our check-in. We're going to come back to this, but we're going to do the left leg first. Let's see if it's any different after we've stretched through both legs. So plant the blocks, framing the left leg. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Still keeping the ribs integrated to the body. So we want to find that balance today. One of the things we're thinking about is length and lift in the collarbone without the ribs flying away or unhinging in the center. Inhale. And then exhale. Walk the hands out. Now, there's a contraction as you come into this. Identify it, know that it's there, know it's a safety mechanism, and then breathe through it. right? Find a level where you can rest. I like to sometimes take the blocks up on their highest level and rest my forearms on it. Big inhale into where the tightness is. And then as you exhale, now you got maybe a little bit more room to come down and in. We're not in a hurry here. We have a lifetime of movement ahead of us. So we're just working our way this morning into this shape and stretch. And then if it's available to you, you're welcome to stack a block underneath the head and angle it, or 2 blocks, and rest the head. It's a really nice way to come into your stretch. So let the head be supported, but that may not be available, and just keep the blocks under the hand if that's the case, and breathe into what is. And we'll have one more breath down here at the bottom. Good. Walking your hands and blocks back in. We're going to check in with the middle range of motion in between the legs. We're not trying to do a straddle stretch here. So don't feel like you need to push your legs super wide. Just have them open enough. Flex the feet so that you have some length in the back of the legs. Find the ribs on top of the hips to start. We're in a forward flex with the hinge at the hips, but we're not going to lead forward with the rib cage. It's going to stay integrated, right, in this flexion. So inhale and then exhale. Walk your blocks forward. Trying to really pay attention to how we're moving in our ribs, and if we're able to keep that central column of the body connected even as we're hinging forward. Sometimes it can be helpful. This is a big, big stretch, much deeper than we usually go on a daily basis, right? Sometimes it can be helpful to take one block lower and take a couple of breaths, and that makes a deeper stretch available to us on that side, and then do the other side. Highly recommend it. I've had good success with some clients working on deepening their stretch this way. And then take a nice deep breath on the other side. And then see if we've taught your body that it can do both together. And it might take more than one breath. You might have to hang out with that a little bit in your own practice, but that's where we're moving into. Now, remember this discipline that we're trying to develop of not just yanking on the back muscles and the leg muscles to pull ourselves up. So take an inhale here. And then as you exhale, low abdominals engage. Find your pelvic floor. Push against the blocks to find a curl in the spine. And then you're going to unfurl and stack up. Beautiful. Now we're all set up for saw. Inhale, take the arms out wide. If you're in a place where you're comfortable sitting flat and you have hamstring mobility, then you can just move forward from your towel and have it propped up on your tailbone in the back. If that towel is really essential to you feeling connected and having a range of motion, then stay up on it. Inhale here. Exhale, twist over to the right. Pinky finger angles towards the pinky toe. Dive the head and the hand out and reach that arm back behind you. And look at the back fingers. Inhale, lift and center. 2-part breath each way. Exhale, twist to the left and dive forward. Pinky finger, the outside of the pinky toe. Look back behind you, lift the back arm. And inhale, reach up and center. One more time, each side. Twist and reach. Inhale, lift and center. Exhale, twist and reach. Inhale, lift and center, and exhale, come down. So you see how all of the things that we did on our way into this prepared us for that big connected range of motion. And now we're going to bring our feet in. We're going to keep the towel just about where it is. You can kind of pump it up if you need to here. And then we're going to place a block in between the knees on its tall, wide setting. Okay, we want that towel roll to land right about where our shoulders are, the tips of the shoulder blades. So if you want to do a measurement, don't get too rested back here, right? You just want to find out where it is and then come back up to seated. Yep, that's a good spot. Now I'm going to come up. Good. Oh, so tempting to move your seat once you get up. So try to stay glued to where you are. And then you grab the tops of the shins and inhale, sit up nice and tall. Okay, now you're going to switch your grip. So the tops of the shins is to get some traction. Feel the ribs right on top of the hips. And then as you exhale, you're going to articulate. So you just round through the spine, grab the backs of the thighs here, squeeze into your block, scoop the belly, and roll back. And we can go down to about the top of where back pockets would be. Make sure your feet are still anchored. Curl and come up. You should feel a lot of work in the low belly, not strain in the hip flexors. So that's the transition we're trying to make. Inhale, sit up nice and tall here. Collarbone away from the ribs, but ribs still knitting together and down towards the hips. And then exhale, curl. You find the right angle of the legs to support you on your way down here. Anchor the feet. Just go to the point. You can walk the hands down the thighs a little bit where you can support this. Scoop the belly against the spine to come up. Keep the chin curled in until you get to the top. We're just going to do 2 more here. Inhale. And exhale. Curl. Walk your hands down your thighs. Come to that low point where you can support it. Scoop your belly. Woo! And curl up. That's a lot of work. Last one. Exhale. Walk your hands down your thighs. Scoop your belly. And this time you're going to go all the way down to your towel roll. Bend the knees in. Tuck your tail. Interlace your hands at the back of the head. Why did I say tuck your tail? You just want to make sure that tailbone's long underneath you, that you're not in any kind of an arch. And then you're going to inhale, open the chest. And you're like, oh, that's why we did that chest opener in the warm-up. Also just because we always need chest openers. It's opposite from the way our upright posture usually bends forward, right? Inhale here, and then exhale. Drop the low belly down and in, like somebody's coming for your belly button with an ice cube and you're trying to retract the skin away. See if you can get the low abs with the pelvic floor involved, lifting up and in. And then you pull along the waist like an elevator gliding up. And underneath the ribs, cresting like a wave, reach forward to grab the thighs and just do a little bit more lift. You're probably not even going to come off your towel. That's not the goal. It's just to get a little bit more scoop in the abs. And then inhale. Sweep your arms around and lengthen back. Exhale. Lengthen your tail. Scoop your low abs in. Bring it up along the waist and start to curl up. Not leveraging from the head. That's going to be the last to come up as the ribs angle down. And grab the thighs. Get a little bit more active lift. Inhale, come around. Last one. Try to put it all together here. Exhale. Lengthen the tail. Low belly sinks. Pelvic floor lifts. Sides of the waist come in. Ribs are angling down. Head and chest lift up. Bring your arms out. Lift up. And now lift the legs up. Take the block out. Right knee comes in towards the chest. Left leg lengthens out. And switch. Scoop the belly even more and switch. Keep the legs going and interlace the hands at the back of the head so that your head is nice and supported, elbows wide. If this is kind of a steep angle for you, this is really a lot of work, the hip flexors are freaking out, go higher. It'll be better, right? And if you want more work, go lower. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the feet down. Keep the head lifted. Place the block back in between the knees. And then we're going to reach right arm across. Left arm across to the right side. Inhale, center. Exhale, right arm across to the left side. Hold. Inhale, center. One more long one on each side. Exhale, left arm reaches across to the right. Hold. Inhale. Exhale, right. Reaches left. And hold. And now we just go side to side. Reach and reach and reach and reach for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And finish. Take the block out. Lengthen back. Get a nice stretch for those abdominals. When you're ready to come out of that big extension, roll off the towel, roll to your side, pull it out from underneath you, and then come back onto your back. Pilates is hard work. We're not going to lie about it. And we're going to probably feel that series in between the hip bones and this low band of the abdominals all the way up into the ribs and diaphragm and the upper abdominals. Might be a little sore, but that's good. Kind of going for that. So now that we're down here on our back, we want to take a moment and assess our alignment, right? So no towel underneath us. We've got lots of feedback from the floor. Toe heel your feet out wide to the side. Maybe bring your arms down along the side so you can kind of have more of a sense of where the edges of the mat are. Did your hips land right in the middle? Drop your knees together to touch. Is your tailbone lined up with that midline? Take a look at it. Lift the head a little bit. You'll be like, oh yeah, there's my abdominals again. I remember, it just did all that work. And take a look down the center and notice if you've got a nice vertical center line. Make any adjustments you need to with the hips, the ribs, and the shoulders. And then bring your feet together so they actually touch right in the middle. And then just separate the feet out to hip width distance apart. So now your heels line up with the sits bones. That's a great way to work equally to make sure your feet match, is to bring them together first and then come out. Good. Sometimes it's hard to feel that. From here, we're going to roll through the right foot up to the tip of the toes. And as we're rolling through the foot, the heel comes off, come up to the ball of the foot and the tip of the toes. We're engaging our seat on the left side. We're engaging the inner thigh on the left leg. So it's squeezing into that imaginary dividing wall. We're feeling the whole interior of the left hip, low abdominals engage. Scooping up and under the ribs. And then when we feel supported and layered in, we float that right shin up. And inhale, come down. So the action of bringing the shin up to the ceiling is the last thing that happens when the whole kinetic chain is layered in to support it. And then you'll exhale, roll through the left foot, right? Bring your attention to the supporting side and then float your shin up. Good. Inhale. Exhale, roll through the right. Take your time, get everything online, and then float the shin up. Inhale. Exhale, roll through the left. What are your ribs doing? Are they nice and engaged? Are they knitting together? Are they helping to support the groundedness in the body. Inhale. Exhale. Same thing here. Super engaged with the low abdominals. Roll through the right foot. Left side super stable. Now you're just going to inhale, open the right leg out to the side like a book. You're not swinging the knee in a rotational way. You're taking the whole limb open like the cover of a book. And then exhale, use your belly, not the leg muscles, to come back to center. 2 more here. Inhale to open. And exhale to come back. Last one. Good. And then we're going to place that foot down, hip width distance apart, really thinking about the heel lining up with the sits bone on the right side. As we're transferring the weight, we're taking a moment to dial in the inner line of the right leg and the right hip, rolling through the left heel, follow the foot toes, float that left shin up. Now the whole leg, not just the knee, the leg, the shin, the thigh, all together move open to about 45 degrees or where you can support it. And then exhale, come into center. Inhale to open. Exhale. Abs on to draw the leg into center. Last one. Good. And release. Let's be relaxed here for a second. Let go of all that control. You can even kind of just soften the ribs and let them hang out as you flex the legs in and out like butterfly wings. Good. And now we're going to be super specific, going back to those control centers of the Pilates. Inhale, open the legs out to the side without letting your ribs pop open, keeping the tailbone nice and long. May limit your range of motion. Exhale, feel it come into the abs first, scooping up and in, and then consciously draw those legs towards each other together. So there's a little bit of effort, some internal resistance created. Inhale, open the legs, keeping your core intact, not letting it go. And then exhale, load the legs together. Last one. Exhale, scoop. And press. Good. Make sure you have a block within easy reach. Mine are almost there. So just bring one up to my hand. Arms down by the sides. Now, inhale. Exhale, roll through your right foot. Scoop the belly. Float your shin up. And on your next exhale, roll through the left foot. This is hard. Double leg tabletop is going to naturally, with the weight of the legs, cause us to dump into the tailbone. So really going to have a strong scoop and some abdominal strength built up to layer the abs in so we don't dump into the tail and lumbar spine and become hyperextended in the low back. Now you can take your arms out wide to the side for a little extra support. Block goes in between the knees on its tall, wide setting. And then inhale, take the knees over to about 45 degrees. Exhale, soften the belly, like you're trying to get away from a ice cube coming towards the belly button. And then use your opposite left waist to pull the knees right across the hip bones in center. Inhale, over to the left. Exhale, soften the belly button against the spine, right waist pulls you back. One more time, each side. Inhale, over to the right. Exhale. Pull back to center. Inhale over to the left. Exhale. Pull back to center. Draw the knees into the chest. I was thinking about going into the other ranges of motion straight from there, but I think it's really important to make sure we're giving our hip flexors a little rest. One thing that can really help is you do a little figure 8 here. So how do we do this? Open the knees out to the side and then let your knees turn in towards each other and then let them open. So we're doing just a little internal and external rotation. Open to the side, exhale, turn in as you come back. One more. Good. All right. Now, we're going to try doing the more advanced versions of this oblique work. So first, find tabletop. We're already a little fatigued here, right? So just build that into our awareness. And then you're going to extend the legs up to the ceiling. You have them reaching a little away from you. That's more core work to do that, but it's helpful. You can have a soft bend in the knees if the hamstrings are super tight, right? This is tick-tock. Inhale over to the right. Exhale, scoop the belly and draw the legs back. And this is tick-tock before social media. This is just what this was called, because it's like the swing of a pendulum of a grandfather clock. Inhale to the left and then exhale, scoop and pull back. Same motion here. Inhale and muscle engagement. Exhale, belly button down, opposite waist pulls you in. Inhale, over to the left. Exhale, belly button, opposite waist pulls you back. We're just going to do 2 corkscrews here, one in each direction. Inhale, over to the right. Exhale, sweep those legs away from you. Now you really have to roll that belly up against the back of the spine as the legs extend through center. Come to the left and up. And then you're going to go the other way. Inhale to the left. Exhale, circle down, around, scoop, 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 and over and up. I love that one. Let's take the block out, bend the knees, drop them together to touch, and notice how much your inner thighs, your hip flexors, top of the quads, outside of the hips, whatever was working, abs hopefully, enjoys the rest of this constructive rest pose here. And we'll just take 3 nice deep breaths for recovery in between, because that was a long series. Good. So now we're going to separate the legs, toe heel the feet back into center, reach your right leg up, interlace the hands at the back of the thigh so you can push that thigh into the hands and the hands into the thigh, right? And then you're going to extend the left leg out, but you're going to do it as you curl up. So take an inhale, just lift that left foot off and get ready. Exhale, extend the left leg up as you come up to a balance. And then we'll do that a couple more times. Come onto your back and then exhale. Extend the left leg up. Last one here. Inhale, come onto your back and exhale. Extend your left leg up. Switch. Hands interlace to the back of the left leg. Inhale, come down. Exhale. Inhale, come down. Let's bend the right knee and then exhale. Extend the leg as we come. It gives us a little extra thrust. Inhale, bend the knee as you come back. And exhale. Come on up. All right. Soles of the feet together. Just give things a little rest here before we come into the next series. We're working from supported postures to postures that rely more on integrated strength and work with the resistance of the body. So those are more advanced postures, and the supported postures are the ones where we develop the strength, and then the more advanced ones are where we use the integration we've developed, right? So come on up. If you find yourself struggling in some of these, it just means that it may be past the place at which you're integrated, and that's totally fine and expected. Not having this idea that suddenly we're just going to drop in and do all of these things perfectly. But knowing where we are in the spectrum is really helpful. And knowing that there's a range that we can grow into is also really helpful. So we're going to do rolling like a ball here. The trick with this one is that the back to front rolling we just did really used momentum and that sort of thrust and leverage of the leg that was extending to help us pull up. In a classical Pilates version of rolling like a ball that we're going to try to do here, you don't have any momentum to help you. It's all core. So see how you do with it. We'll bring the feet in here. We're going to wrap your hands around the outside of the legs here, right? And you're creating kind of a frame. And you're holding onto the inside of the ankle with the fingers. And then as long as it doesn't cause cramps in your feet, you're coming up to the tips of the toes. This is the ideal place. So it shifts your center of gravity back and you curl the chin into the chest. Take an inhale here. We have to articulate the spine. It's what we've been working on in order to lift the feet off, and exhale, roll back. Oh, and use your core to come up, right? So come back up to seated. We're going to try that 2 more times. Curl up here. Inhale to prepare. Exhale to roll back and come up. Trying not to kick the legs out. I'm doing a little bit, but keeping it nice and tight and into center. Inhale. Exhale, roll back. And come up. Open the knees and lean forward and give yourself a little stretch. There's 3 variations we're working on today with this. That was the first one, and it's not easy. One of the reasons why in Pilates, in rolling like a ball, you get yourself into that tight little position is because it restricts your ability to chug the legs to get you up and down and focuses it on your core. And if your core is not working, you can't move. So if you find yourself going, that's not happening in that position, it just means that the core needs to be a bit stronger to be able to do it. This is seal. I find this to be silly and fun. So you're going to take your hands through the middle of the legs and underneath. And then find the knees out to the side and lift up to the tips of the toes and find that little balance point on the tailbone. Of course, you're making sure you have enough room front to back here. And lift your feet up to the degree that feels comfortable for you. And then we're going to clap our feet like a seal. Clap, clap, clap. Exhale, roll back. And come up. And then clap. Now what we're supposed to do is clap in the back too. So let's see if we can add that in. Roll back. Clap, clap, clap. Roll up. And that really helps us to not use momentum. We'll just do one more here. Clap, clap, clap. Roll back. Clap, clap, clap. Roll up. Clap, clap. Very silly, but kind of fun to do. Now, this last one, you may just want to observe. Why is this escaping me? Why I can't think of what this is called. It just went out of my brain. I'll look it up later and tell you. Never trust your brain first thing in the morning on a Saturday, apparently. So you extend the legs out and hold to where you feel comfortable on the ankles here, right? And you need to curve your spine. You need to articulate it down as you roll back. It's not a thunk onto the shoulders like you're falling off a cliff. So roll back, kick the legs, and then lift up to come back to center. We'll do 2 more of those. Inhale here, and then exhale. Roll back and come up. Whoops. Went into seal. Yep. So from here, one more time. And come up and relax. 100%, particularly the last one, very challenging. it's an advanced pose, but like I like to show you the spectrum of stuff that's possible to do and not just say we're never going to approach any of those things. But if you or it, some I guess what I want to say is I don't want you to feel discouraged because we tried it, right? But the whole point is to try it and have fun with it and see where it goes. I don't want you to go to this place you're like, ah, man, oh, right. That's not helpful. This stuff is hard to do. So we're going to bring the legs together here. Bend your right knee. And you're going to hold at the back of the thigh. You're going to try to keep the left leg on the floor. Take an inhale here, sit up nice and tall. This is all about spinal articulation. Scoop the belly up and under the ribs as you lengthen yourself back. Try to keep that bottom leg on the floor and come down and extend that top leg up. Inhale here and exhale. Bend the leg. Curl the chin into the chest and come up. One more here. And exhale. Keep that bottom leg lengthening out onto the floor. You really have to tuck your tail, scoop the belly, keep the thigh pressing in, lengthen your leg up. And exhale, bend the knee, press with the thigh, and lengthen up. And notice how much support the weight of the legs are giving you. We'll switch sides. Stretch the right leg out long. Interlace your hands at the back of the left thigh. Lift the foot up. Sit up nice and tall here. And then exhale. You really articulate. Tuck the tail. Roll down. Press the thigh into the hands. And then lengthen the leg up overhead. Exhale. Bend the knee. Press the thigh into the hands and come up to seated. Just 2 more times here. And exhale. Tuck the tail. Roll back. And come up. And exhale. Bend the knee. Press. And roll up. Last one. Scoop. And articulate down. Inhale, lift the leg up. And then exhale, bend. And press. Okay. This is the last really hard thing we're going to do, and then we get to chill out. This is called a roll down. We do this with straight legs. Zip the legs up. Make sure your blocks are in a place you can reach them before you head down to the floor, so that once you're down there, you don't have to work too hard to find them. Okay. We could do this with a TheraBand. It's a great way to condition the exercise, but the goal is to have enough core support so that the TheraBand's on the inside of your body. You don't need the external support. So inhale, sit up nice and tall. Imagine a TheraBand. And then exhale, scoop the belly. So this is like we did with one leg, but we're doing it with 2 legs together. Really track through the center. Try not to twist the hips. Scoop the belly, lengthen the tail, roll down. Take your arms back up overhead. Notice your ribs are going to want to follow. Exhale, curl the spine and roll up. Just 2 more times here. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. That roll up is really challenging. And for many years, even though I was teaching yoga and Pilates a lot, the roll up was not available to me. And still at some point, sometimes it's still not. So don't get too down about that either. Inhale nice and tall here, and then exhale, articulate. That's that Pilates scoop. So you're supported. Coming down 1 vertebra at a time. Try to stay nice and even on top of the hips. As you take your arms back, try not to pop the ribs. They don't have to touch the floor. Just reach them to a place where it's comfortable. Inhale. And then as you exhale, curl, scoop, and come up. Last one, we're going to stay down when we go down. Good news, right? Exhale, tuck the tail, lengthen the spine, squeeze the legs together, roll down, and take the arms back. And then once you're down there, Rest the arms down by the sides, bend the knees. Oh yeah. Take the feet out wide and drop the knees together to touch. And this is one of those moments where you're like, oh, yes, constructive rest. I know this and I can get into it. And now I feel all the things that aren't working, straining, stressed out, like the engagement can really release and let go. You can take your hands to your thighs and push the thighs away from you, particularly if the hip flexors go cranky during any of what we just did. And then rest the arms out to the sides and close your eyes and give yourself 3 nice deep breaths here. I like to climb my shoulders down my back. They have a tendency to kind of creep up. So you might be able to glide your shoulder blades and ribs down along the back side of the body a little bit, which may give you some more space in your tail. Full deep breaths here. Good. Then I'm going to separate the knees, bring your blocks in. We did this in our warm-up class, but we didn't spend a lot of time in it. We're going to have a couple minutes here. So take the blocks to the outside of the hips on their medium setting, soles of the feet together. Tip the blocks in towards the knees and give yourself a rest right here. Ah. So as you're resting here, give yourself some encouragement and support, some gratitude for the effort that you put in to this last hour of class, last hour and a half, if you did the warm up too, because a lot of the things we approached today were from classical Pilates. And I tend to teach in a way that is angling towards integrating the body to be able to do classical Pilates, which can be really challenging to just jump into straight away. We need to mobilize the spine and the hips and the articulation of the shoulders and hips together. We need to build up core strength. We need to find out how to not rely on those big postural muscles and instead of the hip flexors and quads and the muscles in the back, and instead use those deep intrinsic core muscles and figure out how to get them integrated and layered in. And those are really important pieces in order to be able to do Pilates effectively in a classical way. So we had a pretty classical mat class, particularly the last half of the class, or even the last 3/4 of it. And if you found it particularly challenging today, know that's because the level of difficulty was in fact more challenging. The exercises themselves ask and expect and rely on more integration than some of the stuff that we have been working on as fundamentals that create the platform for it. So don't be discouraged if we approach things that were a lot today. Just know that it's a increase in difficulty level that we approached today. And that was intentional to kind of give you a gauge of where you are. And if there were things that you approached that were easier than you thought they were going to be, congratulations, that means your integrative work is coming along well. So just take it all in and know that your efforts are all to the greater good of building strength and integrity in the body. We'll have 4 more nice deep breaths just right here. When you're done, stretch your legs out nice and long. Bring them back into parallel, move blocks out of the way, and just do a little heel rock to soften the backside of the body into the floor. Imagine any tension that's accumulated that's nice and heavy and small enough to fall through the holes in the sieve that's the backside of the body, and let it sift out of you. We'll be here for 2 nice deep breaths. Just rocking up and down on the heels, letting the rest of the body and all the joints be soft around it. And take a pause. And just 1 nice deep breath in stillness here. Good. Take your time, gently roll over to one side. Push yourself up to seated. I'm gonna end here today. I'll check in with you guys after I pause the recording, but thank you for being here. I hope you have a great weekend.